folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, things didn't go as planned for me, for what I was going to share with you today. I was planning on doing like a little live stream during the eclipse, but that didn't work out. And I'm assuming, man, this road is getting worse. I'm assuming, let me slow it down just a little bit, that the world hasn't fallen apart yet. I don't know. I have no clue what's happened today, but I'm still here. I've seen people out running around, so I'm assuming everything is it's not all done yet, right? Ended up getting toned out to 2 calls at the same time, and we're short-staffed today as a department, so our emergency response team that is its own separate entity. It's an auxiliary, but we had to jump in and really help out a lot. So did a big fire, which that's why you see me in this, and then also a one vehicle accident with multiple passengers in it. So it's been a very high stress, high speed, crazy last several hours. And it's amazing to me that there are still people out there that say that this kind of volunteer work doesn't help you prepare at all for what's going to happen at some point in the future. You get no honing of any kind of preparedness skills at all. Anyways, so again, the eclipse. I'm going to assume that there's probably been some traffic problems in places. It's possible that in some of these areas where people viewed it, it got crazy. I don't know if there's any violence, but apparently everything's been okay, which is what I assumed it was going to be. I figured that was going to be the case. I wasn't buying into all the hype that the end of the world was going to happen today. But it doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen eventually because of this. I mean, everyone's really concerned with the New Madrid earthquake. And while I haven't been able to find any scientific evidence to back up that the eclipse could cause the New Madrid to go off, it did it once before over 100 years ago. So, actually 200 years ago, I guess. So it's quite possible. I think it's still on the table. So that's something to consider. I did notice I live in a very, very rural area, so not a lot of people. When you drive around on the roads around here, you don't see a lot of people. But just coming back, because I did the vehicle accident first and then the fire second, and just coming back, there were a lot of people on the road. So I'm assuming maybe people are coming back home. I don't know. We were at 99% totality, I guess, here, so it didn't seem any need to go someplace else. It happened while I was working the vehicle accident. It was funny because it's very chaotic. If you've ever worked that, I can't give out information, but it was definitely a rough one. And we're on scene, and I'm trying to do all the medical stuff and everything that needs to be done, and then I realized it's a little dark out. Oh yeah, it's that eclipse thing happening. And so it passed while we were doing that. I don't know that I have any inspiration. I'm exhausted. The fire was the side of a hill about like this. And so it was very physically draining to kind of get up there at the top, really tall, in the woods, rough terrain. So I'm a little exhausted, but it's something that I had been thinking about the last couple of days in regards to this whole eclipse, and that's, we all have seen, and I'm not going to say that I'm immune to it. I mean, I'm sure I've gotten caught up in the hype and the psychological operations of things over the last few years, but I know that we all have. And these things kind of come and go of, oh, this is going to be the next big thing, this is going to happen, and we see all these. I'm not picking on people or naming names, but we see these prominent people in either preparedness or truth news, alternative media, conservative talk, all that kind of stuff, and they jump on it a lot of times. They push this narrative, and oftentimes I wonder, are they doing it because they're concerned? Are they doing it because they have some knowledge that they more than what you and I know? Or is it just so that they can increase their bottom dollar, their views? And more times than not, I see, whether it's YouTube or other types of accounts, where they're pushing this stuff and, making videos about how they just know that this one thing is the end all be all. It's going to happen today. Or, remember the train derailment up in Ohio? There was several very prominent people that were emphatic and just intensely telling this story that, everyone was going to die up there because of the type of stuff that got released and all this kind of thing, and ended up, it didn't happen like that. Now, could these people end up getting cancer later on down the road? Yeah, of course, but that's not what they were saying. And it was interesting. I was one of the few voices that during that whole time I was saying that, as it was happening, a week or two after it was happening, there was still so much hype about it. And I said, the story on the ground is that everything's gone back to normal for the most part. And there was still this hype, and then it's the next thing, and then it's the next thing. And today it was the eclipse. And for those of you that's been around a while, you remember 2012, the Mayan calendar, and the Y2K bug in 2000, all that kind of stuff. And I'm saying all this stuff not to actually, I know it sounds like, man, is he trying to discourage us from watching this stuff, discourage us from prepping? Man, it's knocking my camera around here. All this, no, of course not. The thing is that there are plenty of real legitimate things that we absolutely know are true for us to be prepared, for us to get our houses in order. We don't have to go looking for crazy stuff that may or may not be true. And it doesn't mean that it's all fake. It's just, it's hard to prove. And rumors spread, and, there's always some retired general that's telling us, oh, I'm a retired, general from 1965, and, because I have all these connections, this is what's going to happen, and then nothing actually happens about it, We need to be careful of that. I think, personally, that those things are just as much as part of the psyop as other stuff that you and I can obviously tell are part of the psyop. I think these are psyops that's played against us. You have the psyops played against the left, convincing them that boys are girls and girls are boys, and that, it's normal to cut your genitals off, and, all this kind of absurdity. These are psyops that are played on the right side of the aisle, the conservatives and stuff. They get hyped up, all of this, just craziness out there. And what I find is, the reason why I think that this, because at first you might say, well, why would they be psyops if it's causing people to, react to them? It's causing people to become aware. Become aware of what? Become aware of fake things, right? And I see more and more people that become almost addicted to this stuff. They become addicted to this hype, this terror, this fear, this next big, alien ship's gonna land, or some planet's gonna, knock us out of the solar system, or, they're spraying this, they're doing that. And I'm not saying these things absolutely don't exist. I'm just saying that they get hyped up on these things. And then number one ended up, so many people that I know that really just kind of obsess over that, they end up not really getting prepared at all. They're not really doing much to, get their own lives prepared. They're not really doing anything to build community, to build networks around them. And they're not focused on the things that are really going on, really, for most of the part. Stuff like at the border. We know for a fact there's at least now, because the government just recently admitted that there's an average of 10,000 people a day, every day, 10,000 people a day coming across the border. That's the ones that they admit to. It's probably 2 or 3 times that are coming into this country illegally. That is huge. That's massive huge. Our currency is being devalued day by day. We're going into insurmountable debt as a nation and as individuals. and our currency is not worth anything, and we're about ready to get knocked off the totem pole of currency and prominence. But we're gonna get all hyped up about other stuff. I'm just telling you, we need to be cautious. It doesn't mean that we ignore everything, because when we do that, then you flip to the extreme. We need to have discernment. We need to pray for discernment. Ask the Father in your prayer time, when you're on your knees and you're crying out to Jesus, and you say, help me do this, help me do that, bless me, protect, all this. Ask for discernment, so that when these things happen, you have the Holy Spirit to help guide you through what's happening and to be able to figure things out better. It's always interesting, I've said this many times, that the one thing that a narrative that's being pushed on both sides, and that both sides of the aisle, the left and the right, are kind of buying into, and that's community is bad. I hear that every day, all the time. All the time. I've been on YouTube for years now, and there are channels that's just recently been on, and they're way bigger than mine, because they hype things up and they don't talk about things that probably really need to be talked about. I get it. Community is a boring subject, and so many people think that it's not possible, but it is possible, and it's probably one of the most important things you do, because when you have community and you have groups of people that are pulling together and they don't need outside help, then you've ended the necessity of dependency. You may think that you can do all those things on your own, but they know that that's not possible, and at some point they will pull the right string, and then you'll cave and you'll have to go run for help. I mean, that's the case with most people. But if you have a community, a circle of people, a network, a mutual assistance group, whatever it is, there's much less likely chance that you'll ever need that help. It severs that umbilical cord, that dependency. And honestly, with all the stuff going on right now, that's maybe one of the more important things that we need to be focused on, other than mental toughness and the spiritual connection with God the Father. But in a physical world, that's probably one of the most important things, and it's one of the things that so many people on so many sides think it's ridiculous, and it's not. And so don't allow yourself to get caught up in this stuff. Sure, it's fine to hear it. What is it? Was it Socrates or someone that said it's a mark of a learned man that can entertain a thought and not accept it, or something like that? I'm sure I just butchered it, but you know what I'm saying. It's the same thing with this. It's okay to hear these theories, these conspiracies, and these hyped up stuff, but use some discernment. Think about it. Does it make sense? Don't just immediately buy into it. Do your own research. Just because someone's prominent on YouTube, whether it's me or someone else, don't just buy into what they say. Don't just listen to what I say. I'm just a regular guy like you. Do your own research. Still get prepared, but don't allow yourself to get caught up in the hype of something that's probably not even going to happen. Folks, it's time to get our houses in order and to prepare ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.